Hello and welcome back to my channel. For this video, I am making some fake cookie ornaments for my Christmas tree. These could be left as like fake bake decorations as well for a tray or whatever, but these are going to be ornaments. To start with, I have some Model Magic from Crayola and some various colors of acrylic paint. These are just ones I already had. I'm using a caramel color, bark brown. I'm going to use a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow. I'm just trying to get a golden baked look. I will add some more stuff later, so the color only has to be somewhat close. I don't have any measurements for this. I kind of just winged it like normal. And I am using gloves because this gets really messy. I already did one batch and I was not using gloves. There's really no way to not get this all over your hands. And if you don't wash your hands immediately afterwards, you're going to end up with somewhat stained hands. It doesn't take a really long time to wash it off, but it's not really pleasant either, especially if you have long nails. So now that my color is mixed in, I'm going to squish the clay down, and then I have this little clay rolling pin thing that came with one of my kids' Play-Doh sets, and I'm just going to use that to kind of flatten it out, roughly to, I don't know, maybe it was about 1/4 of an inch thick. It was a thickness that I just happened to like for my cookies. You could always make them thinner. And I will say that even though this is air dry clay, and the package says it will dry pretty quickly, because we added so much acrylic paint, it did take probably 2 weeks to dry. And then even still, I'm not sure that they're fully dry in the center just yet. Now that my clay is rolled out, I'm going to take some cornstarch and I'm going to dust the top of this because this is very sticky clay. I'm also going to use some on the cookie cutters as best as I can because, again, this stuff will stick to anything. And when I cut these out, instead of leaving the scrap clay around the edge, I do have to kind of pull it away from the cookie cutters a little bit because this clay will stick to itself very quickly. And then when you go to pull it away, it's going to be a mess. So I did have to pinch off a little bit of the excess clay around the edges, but it doesn't really matter too much. We are going to texture this in a little bit. This one, I moved it quick enough and it was fine. I guess you'll just have to test. For my little gingerbread guy, it took a lot more to get it to not stick to the other clay. After they're all cut out, you can add whatever bite marks or anything you want to. And for my gingerbread, because the leg looked a little weird, I'm just going to cut part of that off and it'll look very intentional. So I just used a small circle cutter to cut off partial circles from the bottom of the leg. And now I'm using my pokey tool and I'm giving some texture to where it's bitten. And all I'm doing is kind of stabbing and pulling a whole bunch in those areas. I also have this toothbrush. This is for clay purposes only. And I am giving some texture to the cookies. And this will just help it look more like cooked cookie dough. Now that my cookies are done being textured, I have these soft pastels, and I'm going to use a couple of sort of reddish brown and yellow brown colors. And I'm just scraping over them, and then I'm going to take this soft paintbrush, collect some of that powder, and then I'm going to sort of dab it on and brush it on around the edges of my cookies to give it more of a golden baked look. I think this particular box of pastels came from either Hobby Lobby or Michael's, I'm not sure. But I don't use most of these colors, as you can see, and I really only did buy them for clay purposes. Now after I had used the cookie cutters, I got to thinking I have some gingerbread dies, and this one is from the Gingerbread Friends die set from Lawn Fawn. And I know most of the people who watch my channel are card makers, so I figured I could find some of my card making supplies and show you how you can use those instead of cookie cutters if you don't have any to create ornaments as well. So I'm taking this die and I'm kind of smushing it down into the clay. Now obviously this isn't going to cut all the way through it, so I'm just going to cut around it with a craft knife, and I will have to smooth out the edges a little bit because I can't cut this perfectly, especially with the clay sticking to itself. But honestly, I think these turned out cuter than the other gingerbread cookies, but I just like this shape better, and the size is pretty cute too. This is a little bit more tedious though, and I will say that I don't love the stitch lines on this, only because when I was cutting and reshaping, I kind of lost some of those stitch lines, and it doesn't really make for a very realistic cookie. But the softness of this clay does make it fairly easy to sort of smooth out the weird textures that you don't want. I'm also going to be adding texture to this as well with a toothbrush, so it does not look quite so stitched, I guess, when I complete these. All right, so weeks later, my cookies are finally most of the way dry. So to start with, I have some hot glue sticks in various colors. This one is white, and I'm just going to add in small sections some hot glue over the top of the cookie to kind of replicate icing. Now, this dries pretty quickly, and I'm adding these little clay embellishments over the top, so that's why I'm working in small sections. If you just want a plain iced cookie, you don't really have to worry about working in small sections here. And also these clay embellishments, these are from a Hero Arts kit, I think. They're just supposed to be little clay confetti. They're just small little round dots. You can really use any embellishments here, any clay pieces you've made, any clay pieces you've bought. You can use some other things that I'll show you later. Just go through your stash of craft supplies, and I'm sure you'll have something that will look pretty good as a cookie decoration. It should go without saying to be very careful when you're working with a hot glue gun. I say it should be because I'm pretty reckless with mine. I don't know how many times I burnt myself between doing this and doing the little ink cube organizer that I did. I have a few burn marks from those. I don't know why I'm like that. It's just in the moment, I'm just like, I'm just going to use my fingers for this. But ideally, you would use some kind of tool to put these little embellishments on. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, even if you're an adult, you still might need adult supervision while using a hot glue gun. While using different colored glue sticks, you will have to either find a better purpose for the extra glue, or you're going to have to squeeze some out. Because as you can see, I put the red glue stick in there, but there was still white glue in there. So yeah, there's a little bit of waste with this, which is kind of sad, but there wasn't really anything I could do with it at that moment. So here, red glue stick. This came in a pack. I will link that in the description box. And it came with a bunch of other colors, so you could really do whatever colors you wanted. But for the embellishments on this, I have these little clay sprinkles. You can buy these from a lot of different places. I actually made mine. They're not super difficult to make. You just have to have a clay extruder and some colored polymer clay. But I just thought this would look cute with some white sprinkles, so that's what I'm doing. Again, being sure to work in small sections because this stuff does harden pretty quickly. So after this star cookie, I do show you one more hot glue frosting cookie, and then I will move into other things. I did do several off screen, but those were just my test cookies. I was just kind of playing, and I didn't figure anybody wanted to watch me make, I don't know, however many cookies I made. I do try to use my reverse tweezers to kind of push the hot glue around if it's not exactly where I want it to be. Because, you know, at this point I had already burned myself like half a dozen times. The embellishment part of this cookie will come after it is completely set. Moving on, I am using some matte Mod Podge, some white sand, and this came from like the floral department in Walmart. And then I also have some glitter, and this glitter is my Simon Says Stamp Unicorn Dust Glitter. Now I'm going to coat each one of these little gingerbread cookies with a thin layer of the clear Mod Podge, and then I am going to cover that with the sand, and then after that I'm going to add some glitter. And this just makes it look like it's frosted with sugar. I know you can buy crushed glass that kind of looks like sugar, but that makes me a little bit nervous. So that's why I went with sand and glitter. I had also tried one with just glitter, and I didn't really like the way it looked. It was just a little too glittery. And I know some people really love glitter, and I don't mind it, but I just didn't think it gave the right look. Now, I am going to take this little sandwich bag, a piping tip. This is size 3 Wilton piping tip. It's just a very small round one. And then I have the coupler. This one's an old one. I just use it for crafting purposes. And I'm going to use this sandwich bag like I would a icing bag. And I'm going to put the bottom part of the coupler in the bag, but I'm going to put the tip on the outside. And this will just make it so that I can change the tip later when I want to. For my frosting, I am going to use some bathroom caulk. This is adhesive caulk. I just used the Quick Seal brand. This is one we had left over when we redid our bathroom. So it was perfect. I didn't have to purchase anything else. But I'm just going to squeeze a little bit in the bag. It would probably have been easier if I had added a little bit more or used a true piping bag. But I used what I used. I did what I did. It was a struggle for me a little bit, but I didn't want to waste a bunch of it. So here, this is one of the gingerbread cookies that I did not frost, which I did find, by the way, that this stuff sticks better to the cookies when they don't have the little glitter / sand mixture on them. It doesn't mean you can't do it. You just might want to do this part first and then be careful where you put the Mod Podge. But I'm just piping my sad little swirls, dots, and smiley face. I did think this one looked kind of rough, but it's fine. My child will probably pull it off the tree and ruin it if he can reach it anyway. And for the little embellishments on this, I added some little half pearl type things that were clear. And now I am switching out my piping tip. This is a size 16, and this is like a star piping tip. So my next gingerbread cookie is getting a different look entirely. I'm just going to pipe out some little bow shapes, and I'm going to use those same half pearl, clear pearl type things. I don't know what they're actually called. They came in a kit, I think, from Hero Arts. And I'm just going to place that in the center of the bow. I thought it would look cute. This was me just playing the whole time. I didn't know what I was doing. So I have some little star bits for the buttons. And then I decided I would make different piping detail around the arms and the legs for this one. The face will come later because I really didn't feel like this tip would do a very good face. Now for another way of decorating these cookies, I have pulled out my Nuvo Drops. Now if you are a card maker, you probably use these or some kind of version of these. And this is in ivory seashell. And I'm just going to make some little lines and like just sort of garland or maybe snow tips on my frosted cookie. And this actually worked pretty well, and I know for me, I don't use Nuvo Drops enough, so this is a great use for the products that I have that will eventually go bad if I don't use them. I'm also going to use red berry Nuvo Drops to make the little Christmas baubles on my cookie. Another color that I use that you will see in a little bit is the chocolate chip vintage drops. That got cut out of the video, but it is one that I used. So for this gingerbread, I am giving her an ivory face with the Nuvo Drops. I just felt like it would stand out well enough on this cookie. But for my next cookie, I'm going to add some buttons using the red Nuvo Drops. And this was giving me very Santa Claus vibes, and I kind of wish I would have went with that as far as giving it a hat or something, but I didn't. But for the face, I'm pulling in those chocolate chip Nuvo Drops, and these spread really badly, so it looks really strange in a minute. And I do wipe it off and start over, and right here you'll see me use the ivory for a mouth. I changed that to the brown after because you can't really see it anyway. But yeah, it looks so bug-eyed, it's so bad. And then, oh look, it's better. Since this one reminded me of Santa, I have this little fake chocolate chip cookie that I made from polymer clay several years ago and decided to put it in his hand. So now my little cookie has a cookie. So this is the last cookie that I have decorated on camera. The rest you will see pictures of, but I decorated those before I started the rest of these. And I had a lot of fun with this. I hope you guys try it. If you try it, please tag me on Instagram if you have an Instagram account. My information will be in the description box below, as well as the products that I used. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will be back with another video soon.